Game of Catch by Richard Wilbur. Monk and Glennie were playing catch on the side lawn of the firehouse when Sko caught sight of them. They were good at it for 7th graders, as anyone could see right away. Monk, wearing a catcher's mitt, would lean easily sideways and back, with one leg lifted and his throwing hand almost down to the grass, and then lob the white ball straight up into the sunlight. Glennie would shield his eyes with his left hand, and just as the ball fell past him, snag it with a little dart of his glove. Then he would turn the ball straight towards Monk, and it would spank into the round mitt and sit, like a still life apple on a plate, until Monk flipped it over into his right hand, and with a negligent flick of his hanging arm, gave Glennie a fast grounder. They were going on and on like that in a kind of slow-mannered, luxurious dance in the sun, their faces perfectly blank and entranced, when Glennie noticed Sko dawdling around the other side of the street and called hello to him. Sko crossed over and stood at the front edge of the lawn near an apple tree watching. "Got your glove?" asked Glennie after a time. After a time. Sko obviously hadn't. "You could give me some easy grounders," said Sko, "but don't burn 'em." "All right," Glennie said. He moved off a little so the three of them formed a triangle, and they passed the ball around for about 5 minutes, tossing each easy grounders to Sko, Sko throwing to Glennie, and Glennie burning them into Monk. After a while, Monk began to throw them back to Glennie once or twice before he let Sko have his grounder, and finally Monk gave Sko a fast, bumpy grounder that hopped over his shoulder and went into the break on the other side of the street. "Not so hard," called Sko as he ran across to get it. "You should have had it," Monk shouted. It took Sko a little while to find the ball among the ferns and dead leaves. When he saw it, he grabbed it up and threw it towards Glennie. It struck the trunk of an apple tree, bounced back at an angle, then rolled steadily and stupidly onto the cement in front of the firehouse, where one of the trucks was parked. Sko ran hard and stopped it just before it rolled under the truck, and this time he carried it back to his former position on the lawn and threw it carefully to Glennie. "I've got an idea," said Glennie. "Why don't Monk and I catch for 5 minutes more, and then you can borrow one of our gloves?" "That's all right with me," said Monk. He socked his fist into his mitt, and Glennie burned one in. "All right," Sko said, and went over and sat under the tree. There in the shade, he watched them resume their skillful play. They threw lazily fast or lazily slow, high, low, or wide. They always handsomely, their expressions serene, changeless, and forgetful. When Monk missed a low backhand catch, he watched indolently after the ball, and hardly even looking, flung it his sidearm for an imaginary putout. After a good while of this, Sko said, "Isn't it 5 minutes yet?" "1 minute to go," said Monk with a fraction of a grin. Sko stood up and watched the ball slap back and forth for several minutes more, and then he turned and pulled himself up into the crotch of the tree. "Where are you going?" Monk asked. "Just up the tree," Sko said. "I guess he doesn't want to catch," said Monk. Sko went up and up through the fat, light gray branches until they grew slender and bright and gave under him. He found a place where several supple branches were knit to make a dangerous chair, and he sat there with his head coming out of the leaves into the sunlight. He could see the 2 other boys down below, the ball going back and forth between them as if they were bowling on the grass, and Glennie's crew-cut head looked like a sea urchin. "I found a wonderful seat up here," Sko said loudly. "If I don't fall out." Monk and Glennie didn't look up or comment, and so he began jouncing gently in his chair of branches and singing "Yo heave ho" in an exaggerated way. "Do you know what, Monk?" he announced in a few moments. I can make you 2 guys do anything I want. Catch that ball, Monk. Now you catch it, Glennie." I was going to catch it anyway, Monk suddenly said. You're not making anybody do anything when they're already going to do it anyway. I made you say what you just said, Sko replied joyfully. No, you didn't, said Monk, still throwing and catching, but now less serenely absorbed in the game. That's what I wanted you to say, Sko said. The ball bounced off the rim of Monk's mitt and plowed into a gadolus bed of the firehouse, and Monk ran to get it while Sko jounced in his treetop and sang. I wanted you to miss that. Anything you do is what I wanted to do. Let's quit for a minute, Glennie suggested. We might as well, until the peanut gallery shuts up, Monk said. They went over and sat cross-legged in the shade of the tree. Sko looked down between his legs and saw them on the dim, spotty ground, saying nothing to one another. Glennie soon began abstractedly spinning his glove between his palms. Monk pulled his nose and stared out across the lawn. I want you to mess with your nose, Monk, said Sko, giggling. Monk withdrew his hand from his face. Do that with your glove, Glennie, Sko persisted. Monk, I want you to pull up hunks of grass and chew on it. Glennie looked up and saw a self-delighted, intense face staring down at him through the leaves. Stop being a dope and come down. We'll catch for a few minutes, he said. Sko hesitated and then said in a tentatively mocking voice, That's what I wanted you to say. All right then, that's to you, said Glennie. Why don't you keep quiet and stop bothering people, Monk said. I made you say that, Sko replied softly. Shut up, Monk said. I made you say that, and I want you to be standing there looking sore, and I want you to climb up the tree. I'm making you do it. Monk was scrambling up through the branches, awkward in his haste, and getting snagged on twigs. His face was furious and foolish, and he kept telling Sko to shut up, shut up, shut up, while the other's exuberant and panicky voice poured down on his head. Now you shut up or you'll be sorry, Monk said, breathing hard as he reached up and threatened to shake the cradle of slight branches in which Sko was sitting. I want, Sko screamed as he fell. Two lower branches broke his rustling, crackling fall, but he landed on his back with a deep thud and lay still with a strangled look on his face and eyes clenched. Glennie knelt down and asked breathlessly, Are you okay, Sko? Are you okay? While Monk swung down through the leaves, crying that he honestly hadn't even touched him, the crazy guy just let go. Sko doubled up and turned on his right side, and now the other boys knelt beside him, pawing at his shoulder and begging to know how he was. Then Sko rolled away from them and sat partly up, still struggling to get his wind, but forcing a species of smile onto his face. I'm sorry, Sko. I didn't mean to make you fall. Sko's voice came out weak and gravelly in gasps. I meant you to do it. You had to. You can't do anything unless I want you to. Glennie and Monk looked helplessly at him as he sat there with tears in his eyes. He then picked up their gloves and the ball, walked over to the street, and went slowly away down the sidewalk. Monk punched his fist into the mitt, Glennie juggling the ball between his glove and his hand. From under the apple tree, Sko still bent over, a little lack for breath, and croaked after them in triumph and misery. I want you to do whatever you're going to do for the whole rest of your life.